Hello and welcome back to Bourbon Barrel Talk. I'm your host, Scott Minton, and we are getting it on like a pot of neck bones in June on Friday. But it's August, so I don't know how the hell that works.
Just going back a month, are we?
I'm just falling back, man. Actually, that would be 2 months. Dopey. August to June, 2 months.
Oh, I thought you
July in the
never
middle.
mind. Never mind. I thought you said.
Don't you got to do the
July.
knuckle thing? You know, that way you get the 31 months, June, July, 31.
That's how I learned.
Is that a prison thing?
I don't know.
No.
Could be.
Okay.
No, that was as a kid. You start with the knuckle on the outside, work your way across, and
And
each.
the ones on the knuckle are 31 days. The ones that are in the gaps are less than 31 days.
Well, I was too busy winning in middle school. I can't.
Probably. What were you winning at? Nerding out?
Getting my ass kicked.
I'm about to say maybe craps in the back.
Getting my ass kicked.
Being called Tits McGee.
All right, so this is a Homer review. All right, we love our Starlight. They're kind of our local distillery. We love what they're doing up there. But they had a recent Amburana release, so we're going to review their bourbon whiskey finished in Amburana Rum barrels, and then we're going to also talk about the Amburana bourbon and then the Amburana Rye. All of them are coming in at 113 proof. They are anywhere from 4 years old to 6 years old. So I'm kind of surprised that they chose to take a 6-year-old bourbon and do the rum Amburana with. But I'm anxious to try them and have a discussion. And Nick's got some like weird, like wanting to say something but haven't said anything. Like the weird look. Are you trying to decide what you can and can't say, or are you just saying what? You got a weird look.
It's formulating to what I really wanted. My thoughts on that, because a lot of times Starlight has been known with many of their craft options that they have between wine, honey, maple, peach brandy, apple brandy, those things.
VDN.
So the VDNs, I mean, but they have the wide range of assortments. But, you know, knowing what Blake and Christian have been able to do over the past few years, being from wine, they are really good at pairing certain bourbons and ryes with those specific flavors from those crafts, because you just can't throw random stuff together.
100%, I agree with that. Now, that being said, they typically finish their 4 to 5 year old bourbons, not their 6-year-old.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
Bingo.
that's why I'm shocked that they took a 6-year-old product and then put it into what is at least a double cast, right? It had rum in it at one point, and now it's got bourbon in it.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming, and this is just me, I'm assuming this is a third fill. I'm assuming Starlight probably did an Amburana in this originally, some kind of bourbon, gave it to Rolling Fork Spirits or, Turner and them up there their barrels are up there. They put rum in it, which I think you said was a 4-square rum.
Yes.
And then after he got done with it, gave it back to them, and they filled it back up with bourbon. So just my thoughts.
It very well could be. But, it's, if they think that distillate, because they do their own just regular bourbon in rum barrel finishes as is right now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe they just found something, one of their higher aged ones just decided that, hey,
for sure.
it might pair better.
All right. The nose on this thing, like, it's Amburana.
But that rum comes through,
Not,
too.
but I was going to say, but there's some weird sweetness there that, like, doesn't come through on their typical bourbon product, and I wonder if it is the rum.
And I think that's the case because it's kind of cutting through there about as you kind of take a inhale, you get that Amburana, that sugary sweetness in there, and then all of a sudden that little hint of side sweetness comes in that you would normally get maybe from a rum. You get that kind of sugarcane-ish style sweetness.
At that point, it kind of overpowers the Amburana.
Which is amazing for that to happen because there's not much stuff that can overpower that Amburana.
So I still feel like the Amburana is the primary flavor adjunct here. Now, that being said, there's definitely some of that ethanol-y sweetness that rum does give off on it.
Yeah.
I just killed a bottle of the rum finished bourbon, the regular one.
No.
And so I did. I know it's shocking. But why am I getting looks across the table now?
We're waiting intently for you to say something. I made a joke, but you were saying something, and then you just went off the deep end. Like, what are you looking at us for? Go ahead.
Maybe it's this guy's face over there.
I mean,
I believe
exactly. The peanut gallery.
What was I saying? Now I lost my own self.
You just killed a bottle.
I killed a bottle of the rum finish, and I think in my head and my palate, I'm getting more of the rum on this one than I am the actual
Gotcha.
barrel.
Gotcha.
So it is definitely there. I don't know if I wouldn't have done that, if it would be less of a flavor profile for me.
Let me throw out something weird here after taking a poll on this.
Okay.
It's almost like it's I could almost interpret this as a spiced rum. I mean, there's some the Amburana sweetness at the beginning, but once you get past that sweetness,
There's a little spice on that back
yeah,
end.
a little bit of that Captain Morgan type. Yeah.
Yeah.
Changes at the mid palate.
Yep.
Mid to back, yeah.
I definitely think there's some bourbon-esque notes in there, but yeah, I mean, that spice with the rum, yeah, it's definitely, I don't hate that description.
yeah, no, I'm still getting your normal bourbon stuff, but it's just that that's very differently distinguished.
For sure.
that I can pick up.
Absolutely.
For sure. All right, Babs is going to water. I don't know that I want to do water in these, but
I can't help myself.
I know you can't. All right. I'm going to skip. I'm going to come back and maybe do water at the end.
Oh,
I agree with
okay,
that.
you
I'm
do
going to
Fine,
change that.
Whatever.
I like that idea.
I'm going to leave a little bit in each one of these glasses just if I do want to do water, but I think I'm going to skip straight over to the bourbon, the 4-year.
You got. Looks like you got a thought, Johnny Tsunami.
My thoughts haven't been shit lately, but yeah, it would be like you take I know, right? Shocking. I'm just the sexy voice.
I
That's
know.
what I say. The
That's right.
ladies,
We
ladies
love
love
it.
it, but
Buttery shit.
they don't listen to me for my fucking knowledge. I'm not dropping that. But it reminds me of if you would take a cigar and just set the end of it in bourbon and just let it saturate a little bit. It's to me that nice balance between the two where you're kind of vying for that mid palate. The front to mid is your cigar batch classic kind of flavors, and then the mid to back to me is where that sweetness of the rum, maybe a little bit of that molasses or dark sugar comes into play.
I can see that. I would halfway be interested in trying this with one of those acid blondies. Because of the sweetness of the cigar kind of would accentuate hitting off that rum as well.
That would be incredible.
So I've been nosing this bourbon for a couple of seconds now. It doesn't have that rich Amburana like nose that I'm used to.
I'm getting
No.
a heavy caramel molasses.
But I'm not getting any of that.
The baking spices are just not as
there.
prevalent there.
Or that smoky-ish that I always get.
Anyone else getting like a buttery note to it on the nose?
I could definitely get where you're coming from a buttery. I don't know that it's as much buttery as just creamy, like icing-y,
Yeah, I
like
think
creamy
it's more of a
richness.
creamy.
like
than
almost
butter.
like it reminds me almost of like the smell of like sugar cookie icing.
No, I will say if you haven't noticed the legs.
Oh yeah, it's got a crazy legs.
There are not much legs unless you. It's just like sticking. It is very viscous.
Yeah. I mean, it's just riding along the edge, and it's not really coming down. It's a slow move.
Yes.
So,
very slow.
all right, I'm going for pull number 1 on this.
But, I get maybe towards the end, like if you just do a pull an inhale, you maybe get a little of that baking spice, those spices that we expect right at the end, but it's just that creaminess that you mentioned and caramel sweetness. Just it's there.
Are you sure this is not the second finish and the Rise the first?
Yes, I'm 100% sure. I asked 3 people.
Okay.
I asked both.
It has such a mild Amburana. It's still there, but like I said, I'm getting like much more weird like sweetness. I'm getting like some sugar cookie notes. I'm getting like some like icing. I'm getting some like it reminds me of cinnamon roll icing.
I can see that.
Yeah.
No, I mean I have a fourth fill that I would get more off of that than this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm just wondering if maybe somebody misspoke, but then that would be 3 people that misspoke.
Right. I asked Christian, Blake, and Andrew.
And Andrew. Huh.
I mean, I'm still getting the tobacco. I'm still getting...
Yeah, I mean, but these are usually
major
just
notes,
so rich, like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, like
Right.
Snickerdoodle, like rich tobacco. Like it's like it's not as robust.
The
as
spices aren't there at all on the palate.
Yeah, I mean, you get the cinnamon, and you get a little bit of that baking spice, but it's nowhere near as strong as what a normal first fill would be. That's why I'm surprised. And it may be that it was only in there for a short amount of time.
I'm getting more of a graham cracker flavor than I am anything else.
You know what? You just struck a chord whenever you were saying that. It almost tastes, weirdly enough, if you've ever had Golden Grams.
Yep. Or the bears, the
Sugar
golden
crisp.
the
Sugar
golden bear.
crisp. Yeah, sugar crisp.
Is that what they are?
Yeah,
Okay,
sugar
okay.
crisp, yeah.
And then
That kind
you're
of honey-
thinking the cinnamon golden graham.
Yeah.
No,
The-
he's
oh,
thinking
shit.
of sugar crisp, like the bear cereal. The little, they look like little wheat puffs, but they're covered in like honey and cinnamon. And
Okay, whatever.
you don't know what sugar crisp are? No, that's a hard no. You don't. It's okay. You don't have to know. He's not talking about Teddy Grahams, are you?
No.
Okay,
Oh,
you're
see,
talking about
that's
sugar
what I
crisp.
was
You're
thinking.
thinking Teddy Grahams. I knew.
Yeah, I'm
I
thinking
knew-
Teddy Grahams.
I got you, dog.
Yeah.
I got you. I got both of y'all.
But I could see that too, Barbara. I could see
It's
the
my
Teddy
inner
Grahams.
fat kid coming out. Cereal and little Teddy Grahams.
But yeah, no, Golden Graham was like one of the first ones. Before you put the milk in,
Yeah.
you would just eat
Yeah.
them dry.
Yeah, for sure. I used to eat all cereal dry. I mean, like,
Do you feel all right?
yeah, just like listen.
He didn't like that
I just
soggy
ate, I
texture.
ate cereal by the handful when I was a kid. Like, I just love cereal. Like, I was crazy. But I also loved, like, the only one I really didn't eat like dry was like Captain Crunch, because that shit would like eat the roof of your mouth.
That's true. Very true.
You know, you'd have to have that. That would have to be wet. But
I mean, like one of my favorites that we still kind of get today because the kids love it is the Cocoa Pebbles.
Cocoa Pebbles, really?
Yeah. So
I was a Fruity Pebbles guy.
Well, no, just because it'll turn your milk to chocolate milk.
So Fruity Pebbles, dude, the milk with Fruity Pebbles.
Oh,
is
no, I'm not
the-
denying that one bit. I was a Fruity Pebbles
I mean,
person
dude,
too.
so
Yes.
I used to take my Fruity Pebbles milk as an adult, and I would put it in my coffee, and it would taste like Fruity Pebble coffee.
I'll say you
Nice.
just blew my mind with that one.
See?
That's pretty good. I like that. I like that idea.
I'm telling you, dog, it was good. And then I had a lot of sugar. Man, it was like, man, it was delicious. Like Fat Kid on a high rise. Whew. All right. Anyway, now we're on to the rye.
All right.
Digressing a bit there.
Dude, I'm telling you, dude, my inner fat kid, dude, when it comes out, it comes out.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
They don't have the typical
Yeah.
Amburana noses.
You're right.
They don't.
I mean, that's
For them, if they're really first and second fills, I'm just shocked. I mean, the rum has more of an Amburana nose than either one of these.
I'm not getting much of the rye pop like I normally do.
Now, with the ryes, I typically get a little bit more of a fruity nose to it, and I'm getting a little bit more fruity nose off the rye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not debating that. I'm just saying, like, typically they are so, like,
Over the top.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch,
Yeah.
Snickerdoodle. Like, I mean, I can go on and on with the typical
Cinnamon roll.
like
Yeah.
all the different things that you typically get off these. But Lily, I mean, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I mean, like, it's the thing that just overwhelms me almost every time I drink one of those first fills, especially like the OG batches, like the first two that came out. Like, I mean, those things were thunder, and like they were just so like those are the ones you can only drink like one, like 2 to 3 ounce pour of, and then you're done. Like, your palate's killed because they're just so rich. And this one, neither one of these have the nose that does.
I want you to taste it, Scott.
I'm getting ready to.
Good.
And again, the legs, this is viscous. It's taking time for those legs to come down.
Is it going to get anything kind of funky on the back end? I don't know how to describe the flavor that I get, but it's from mid to back palate. It's not finishing like a normal one would. I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely still getting cinnamon.
Barbara understands what I'm getting.
Little bit of baking spice.
The
But
question is, does Scott
Scott,
get it?
get it.
There's a different ethanol-y, like mid palate to late, but there's also something else that's just, I'm trying to put my finger on it.
Pretty much, I'm getting chocolate mint right there at the end. Like that, it just lingers on that mid to back palate.
I think that might be the weird thing.
yeah,
you're getting.
because I think
Yeah,
now that
I'm
you
getting
say
mint.
that,
I don't
it's-
get chocolate, but I do get the mint. That's what I said. It's weird.
Yeah,
It's not Ambriana-esque. I mean, it's really not.
No.
These are totally different interpretations of what they typically do on these Ambriana finishes.
Would the mint be like an herbal kind of?
Yeah.
Yes.
Say, okay, that's
Yeah.
I'm getting like a black tea or something.
Yeah, I could see
in the
where you
bag.
distinguish kind of in that realm. Phil Greeny, black tea,
You said these were all 113 proof.
113
and then-
proof. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
one that's 113, one that's 113.3, and the other one's 113.9. So they're all right there together.
I think I remember getting more of a typical cigar like flavor from the 100 proof Bottle and Bond ones than the 113s.
No, 100%. I mean, I don't dislike any of them. They just don't have the same robustness that they typically do, especially in those first few batches.
Yeah, typically, your first three things that you notice are usually cinnamon, sugar, and then based on if it's bourbon or rye, either you get the apple or you start getting more kind of like tobacco and caramel.
All right, I'm barbering. I can't believe it, but I'm dropping water in these.
I don't think it's going to hurt at this point.
Maybe the rum. Right now, the rum's leading the way for me.
Oh yeah.
And the rum was a limited release. They only, I think, had 150 bottles
Yeah. It
20.
or
was.
so. 120.
Now, they said that there is possibly a follow-up release as well. They had filled another second barrel that will be coming probably in the next month or so, somewhere in that time frame.
Yeah, rum. The water kills it. At least on the rum, it does. I just get rum now, a little bit of that baking spice, and then it's just a medium to quick finish.
It's very muted on flavor.
Yep.
With water.
Yeah, you get that kind of sugarcane sweetness you get from
Right.
Yeah.
rum, and then that's about it. Slight little lingering of some of those baking spices, but it's, as you said, muted. It's just like right there at the end. You have to search for those flavors. It's just not there and
Now
very
that-
prevalent.
The bourbon's the
me-
same way.
Really? See, I'm getting a lot more on the nose with the bourbon with some water in it.
I'm getting a little bit more of the baking spice and stuff, but that's when you drink it, it's going to be all rye. Wait till you hit
On
wait-
the nose, I mean, that sugar cookie, like you said earlier, is like just
Yeah.
very prevalent up front.
Yep. And I still get some of that, that sugar cookie, that icing, but cinnamon, it's just all around the mouth palate.
You're right. You're right, Scott.
Yeah.
Wow, weird.
Rye whiskey. Nose is very muted.
Nose for me almost went kind of like grains, like harvest grains.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm not sure what grain I would pinpoint in that situation.
Halfway, I would almost say weed, but and obviously that can't happen. But it's kind of like you're at the end of harvest. You're in October. Somebody just sat and cut a field. That's kind of what I'm getting.
And honestly, the rye with a drop of water is actually probably a little bit better than it was before. Still not Amburana-esque, but
No.
it adds another layer of sweetness with a little drop of water.
Yep.
Kind of kicks up the barley in it a bit more for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agree.
But a little disappointing on the, like you said, I think you called the Ambriana-ness of it.
Yeah, that typical cinnamon toast crunch sweetness, things like that. Snickerdoodle,
sugar
yeah.
cookie. Yeah.
Yep.
Is part of
Sweet
it
tobacco.
just the demand for this particular bottle or these bottles? It's very sought after. They make a big deal of it by having their own special releases for it.
I think it's gotten more to the point to where, if I could say that there would be a cause and effect, is that other groups have caught on to the Amburana wood and the barrels. And now that is becoming more of a premium and harder to find than it was 3-4 years ago.
So a lot of the store pick groups that come through and
Well, just
they all
other
are wanting-
labels. Like Heaven
Yeah.
Hill bought a slew of the barrels. Jim Beam bought a slew of the
Okay.
barrels. Penelope bought a slew of the barrels. Starlight's buying theirs. I mean, I'm pretty sure Nulu has some. Good Times.
So you were
has
talking
some.
industry wide.
Industry-wide,
Yeah.
people are buying more Ambriana because of what happened when Starlight released their first couple things. Like, I will say, they were first on
Yeah.
the bourbon kick with this. Now, that being said, I go back a long time, and I can tell you 100% the beer market was doing it way before whiskey ever started doing it. Like, they were finishing stouts and things like that in Ambriana cask to give them that
sugary-
cinnamon and that sugary, like, heavy, like, notes and stuff like that they were putting in charred barrels. And you get some amazing stuff out of those. So, I'll be honest with you, that would be the thing I would really, really want to try. Matter of fact, I may just try it.
To do a stout beer,
So I might,
and
well,
or how would you do that?
so one of my favorite breweries in the area is Scarlet Lane Brewing Company up in Indianapolis, McCordsville area.
Okay.
They've got it's like I want to say it's like Katrina McClure or something like that is the name of the beer that they make, but it's like fig and cinnamon and sugar, and I can only imagine, like, if you finished a batch of rye whiskey in an Amburana cask, then gave it to them, let them put the Katrina McClure in there, and then they'd send it back to you with all that sugary, sweet fig, on top of that, and then re-entering, a bourbon or a rye in that, dude, I bet the thing would be thunder.
So here's another thing that I ran across. I think it was about 2 or 3 Brew at the Zoos. I've been a frequent person to go to Brew at the Zoo. Dogfish Head, I think it was right before COVID. They end up having this little infuser that they went from
I forgot
keg
about this.
into this infuser, which was basically just another pop-up. They had some, I think what they did at that particular infuser, they had some habaneros.
Yeah.
They put some habaneros in there.
I remember
And so
this
they took one of their mango IPAs and then did it with the habanero.
You lost me at IPA, but go ahead.
No, trust me. But what I'm saying is
Usually, every IPA loses Nick, but this one was incredible.
Yeah, this one was actually good. But what I'm saying, though, is that if you think about it, you put a stout, you use this infuser, you put the Amburana chips in there that we've used elsewhere.
Gotcha.
And then keep it through the system and then pour it out as a pour.
Gotcha.
So you're doing a quick infusion for a stout. Because I think the stout is going to be more robust in holding and accentuating those flavors.
When we get off air, we're going to look up to see if I don't even know if they still make that Katrina McClure, but it is like one of my favorite beers of all time. Like, it is fantastic. They used to only make it seasonally, like September, October-ish. But those things were fire. I used to buy them things. I'd buy like as many as I could possibly get my hands on, and they would sit in my refrigerator, and I would like kind of almost like the Bourbon County Stouts, like you would like drink them so slowly that to make them last for the entire year.
About to say the episodes we did on the Bourbon County Stouts, we did not drink slowly.
No, but
So we had a good time.
Typically, when you buy them, though, you kind of hoard them and kind of slowly drink them. You don't,
Yes.
you don't pound 4 of them in one day.
I forgot that I was at my own house that episode.
Where am I at? Why am I here?
Well,
I think the word
live
you were
here.
looking for, Scott, was ration.
so
That's
So slightly foreshadowing. Bourbon County has released some of what they're coming out with.
Yep.
One of them is a aged 2-year in Eagle Rare, and aged 2-year in Angel's Envy. So
All right.
there's going to be a few other things we can do, but I think if you're
Angel's
ready
Envy
to,
or Angel's Envy rum?
I can't answer. I think it's regular Angel's Envy. But I agree. I know where you're going with that. I agree with you on
That
that.
rum would be pretty.
I'm telling you, I think
lit.
that would be thunder.
I'll have to double check that. But they have a great lineup this year on some of those, and I think I'll be able to make sure I procure some so we can have another podcast around those.
Yep.
All right, I think the next podcast I need to go just so I can be the DD.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
That's fair.
All right. Let's pick a W.
Rum.
Rum finish.
Rum.
Okay. So second, third, are we just not picking that, or
We
We were going for the win here, Scott.
Okay,
that,
That's
was
what you
our,
said.
that was
You-
our unanimous winner, I think.
I'll say rum, rye, bourbon, because I think the bourbon actually kind of disappointed me a little bit.
Same.
Same.
I'm gonna go unanimous. I think we're rum, rye,
Hey.
bourbon. So
I'm usually
Four of a
such,
kind.
I'm usually such the oddball, and I'm usually not with Nick.
yeah, that's true.
The only thing that has any redeeming qualities out of that bourbon is that kind of cinnamon toast crunch, or not cinnamon toast crunch, but the golden graham. that I
Yeah, the
was getting
golden
out of it.
graham and the little icing.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. All right, that's our review. These Carl T. Huber Starlight Amburana finished. One is rum cask, one is bourbon, and one is rye. If you want to find Bourbon Talk, you can find us on Facebook, the Instagram, or the Twitter. You can also email us any questions at bourbontalk@gmail.com. You can also hit the subscribe button to find us on your favorite medium. That way you get our episodes first thing on Sunday morning. This is Scott, Johnny Tsunami, Barbara, and Nick signing off from the Brock Bourbon Bar. Peace.
Prost.